should we just mute, and as soon as we see you live on YouTube, then we'll hang up from here?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, because I press live and stuff now. So.
Okay, I'm going to mute now, and then once we see you live, Jeff, we'll hang up.
Okay, cool.
Perfect.
Just need to get that link out. Okay. You guys see me and hear me? You guys see me and hear me? Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Arsenal Daily Download, keeping you up to date on all things Arsenal. Make sure you guys are smashing the likes and subscribing if you are new. On today's show, we will be discussing the Osimhen links. Osimhen has been linked to Arsenal once again. Arsenal's interest in La Liga's top goal scorer, Artem Dovbyk, I think it is, and the Xavi Simons loan deal. And exciting news, if you guys were not on the show the other day, I was telling you guys that you guys will be able to now send in video messages straight to me. So like I was saying, the video messages are super cool because for those of you guys who have a little bit of stage fright, maybe you're a little bit like, okay, I want to say something. I want to get on to the show and put my thoughts and feelings out there, ask a question, give my hottest take, but you're a little bit, maybe a little shy. You want to kind of, record it and do it over and over again. You can do that. You can do that now because we have video messages available for you guys to send in. You guys just have to use the QR code in the right-hand corner of your screen. It's $2.99 to do it. And at the end of the show, I will dedicate time to getting to those video messages, putting them up on the screen, and letting you guys know what my thoughts and feelings are on what you guys have said, and also the chat because that's important. So make sure you guys get involved in that. And let me just make sure everything on your guys' end. We're using Reactive for the first time, so I just want to make sure that you guys are actually seeing me on the stream. So just give me 1 second. Yeah, people are seeing me. I can see people in the chat, which is awesome. And actually, before I get into the headlines for today, I just want to make sure that I have my the games on for myself too. I hear that Trossard is starting for Belgium, so definitely got to get that going. So if I can just find the stream really quick, that'd be great. Okay. All right, so we're in here. Next, I wanted to talk to you guys about the next watch along. So the next watch along will be Thursday, starting at 4:45 p.m. UK time. Denmark versus England. We've been doing these watch alongs. We're doing a combination of Euros and Copa America. So make sure you guys, get involved with that at 4:45 p.m. UK time, which is I don't know, almost 9 a.m. my time. And so that will actually push the daily show earlier to about 3:45 or 3:30 p.m. So make sure you guys just remember that and use the link that's in the description box for the watch along to go ahead and sign up. And let's get into the headlines. So Arsenal will make an attempt to sign Victor Osimhen in the next few days. That's coming from Rai Sport. Arsenal and Barcelona are negotiating the final terms for Keira Walsh. Keira Walsh is an amazing England national team player. She's a Lioness. She was playing for Manchester City, then moved to Barcelona. Barcelona have won many trophies. They actually did the quadruple this season. And so she's actually looking for a move back to England. And so Arsenal and Barcelona are negotiating that move. It looks like, let's see, Crystal Palace have begun talks with Arsenal for Reece Nelson. So the other day we talked about Reece Nelson wanting to move on from Arsenal. And so Fulham and West Ham are also interested in a deal for him, but that's good news for us. And Chelsea, Arsenal, Manchester United are all monitoring Girona's 26-year-old Ukrainian striker, Artem Dovbyk, who you probably would have seen playing for the Ukraine just this in the first game today. And last but not least, Arsenal want to sign Xavi Simons on loan, which will be really exciting for a lot of you guys because a lot of people are really interested in Xavi Simons. And we also want to wish Jurian Timber a happy 23rd birthday. Now, SKA squad, who is all in here? Who's in the building? I want to see who is in the building. Who's here? Who's here? So in order for me to go through like the chat on here, I have to like just press this button to show on screen. So let's see. EMV says Lima rejected Chelsea for Wolves. Who's Lima? Who's Lima? Onana's story is, John P says Onana's story is BS from Liverpool sources because they want to squeeze Man United for Branthwaite. I kind of agree with that. You guys know how I feel about, you know what my narrative was. My narrative was always that the Onana thing was about Branthwaite, and I'm hoping so because, like, listen, you guys know me. I don't really want Onana, and I've been very vocal about it. He's just not the type of player that I feel like we should be going after. So, to me, I honestly do feel like it's all. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Beckham is barking. I need to get him. Bex, where are you? I knew you were gonna do this as soon as my show. Oh my gosh. Okay, so back to what I was saying. The Onana story does feel like BS and made up from Everton trying to squeeze more money out of Manchester United. So that's what I'm going with. Let's see. Arsenal have 2 players starting for Belgium. No, we do not. You guys, how many of you guys actually want Onana? How many of you guys do, like, seriously, is there anybody here that actually wants Onana? Like, put your hand up. I want to know because I want to know who I need to block. Seriously, let's be serious. Listen. Oh, Slovakia are already ahead of Belgium. Okay, so for people that are like, you should have named him Bergkamp. To me, that I thought about that. I thought about that. I just think that like Beckham sounds better, and I love David Beckham. So yeah, it just made more sense for his name to be that. But he has been a little terror this morning. He ate part of the floorboard. He's tearing up every piece of tissue you could possibly find. He's been on one. So he's been so much today. Lay down. All right. So Mark says, Mulo says rather keep Partey. Boy says no one serious wants Onana. So yeah. Oh, and somebody's saying it was a Doku mistake. Yeah. So basically, we have a couple of things that I do like really want to get into. I really want to talk about the Osimhen kind of like news first, because, you know, I think there's a lot of still Arsenal fans that really want a striker. And I'm not saying I don't want a striker. I really do want a striker too. I feel like Arsenal, like I'd rather have more than less. Like I'd rather have that player that we know is like a clinical finisher behind Havertz, or playing instead of Havertz, so that we know that we have that insurance policy. But I also know my club really well. And so being consistently linked to Osimhen, when I kind of feel like maybe he's not drumming up as much business or as much interest as we originally thought he would. Like there was a time where like it felt like every single club wanted Osimhen. Now it feels like no one wants him, or they're trying to figure out somebody to come and get him. So I'm not really sure about these links, but there's several different headlines today. Victor Osimhen does not want to move to Saudi Arabia. Arsenal value the Nigerian at 75 million euros, just over half of the release clause. His release clause is around like 100 and something million like euros. And so, yeah, I think, Arsenal would obviously be, if it's only them looking at him, they should try to negotiate down, because he's not worth, I don't think Victor Osimhen is worth like over 100 million. I don't even know if he's worth 100 million. I really don't. Not right now, not with the season that he just had. He doesn't feel like a guarantee. He feels like probably the most, I don't know. Like, what do you guys think? Is he valid? Like, is he a sure thing or not? Because if you would have asked me last season, is Victor Osimhen a sure thing? I would have said absolutely, because of the season that he had and the season that Napoli had. Now this season, because they had such a poor season and he also didn't have the best season, it's like, is he actually a sure thing, or is he like overrated, or is he underrated right now? So this is coming from Rai-Sport. Rai-Sport is saying, and this is coming from Ciro Venerato, who I guess got the Ospina news right, but got the Gabriel Magalhaes news wrong. So he's gotten some things right, he's gotten some things wrong, which pretty much means that he is probably a middle of the road journalist, right? But Arsenal will make an attempt to sign Victor Osimhen in the next few days. However, it will be a lower sum than his 130 million euro release clause. Napoli will have to evaluate the pros and cons of the offer for Osimhen, who dreams of playing in the Premier League. And so we know he's a Chelsea boy. We know that, Drogba vibes, whatever, that's where he potentially want to be, but he probably wants to play Champions League, and Arsenal were interested in the past, so it could be an easy link, or it could be that Arsenal are working behind the scenes to bring in Osimhen. What are your guys' feelings on it? Like, listen, I think Osimhen is like, are we in danger of him becoming underrated, or is he actually just, people are more aware of the type of player that he is, and not giving into this idea that like he's elite? Like, is he elite? I don't know, because listen, I said that I would take Bowen yesterday, and I would also take Sesko. Sesko, not starting for RB Leipzig, had, let's see, he scored 14 goals and had 2 assists. That's not starting for Leipzig, a 20-year-old. Then I said I would take Bowen. Bowen had 16 goals and 6 assists last season for West Ham. Osimhen for Napoli last season had 15 goals and 3 assists. So, he had one elite season. Osimhen, one elite season, and that was last season when Napoli were playing well. Every other season that he played in Serie A, he had 10 goals, 14 goals, the types of numbers that if Jesus was getting them, we would all be like, oh my God, he's not good enough. It's the same numbers that people turn their nose up for Sesko for. It's the same numbers that people said that they wouldn't take Bowen for. So one elite season when Napoli were playing out of their skin, but the median, like the main, like the common season that he has is somewhere around like 15 goals. So is that elite, or did he have one elite season? I guess that would be my kind of like caveat to, is he like as good as people think he is? Let's see. Nuances of Fate says he's not as good as people make him out to be. MV says, but unfortunately the market dictates. That being said, it's a long summer. I hope Arsenal can find more targets in the striker like market before making rash decisions that could be costly. Example, Lukaku. Let's see. Otani says Napoli spent 70 million pounds for Osimhen in 2020. No way they accept 70 million euros. Yeah. I mean, I agree. I cannot see with that fee, but like ultimately, I don't actually think that like this is somebody that we should be going for right now, but that's just me. Roscoe De Sol says underrated for sure. I think you could be a combination of overrated and underrated at the same time. I think he's not like a bum. but he's not elite. Like, there's just no way he's elite. To be honest, like, he's just not. So yeah, Nostradamus says Sesko started 17 Bundesligas last season, Bundesliga games last season, which underlines my point once again that in a 38 game season, he started 17 games. So he technically, that's not considered a starter, and he still scored loads of goals. So again, people were turning their nose up at those numbers, and we're like, he's not good enough. He's too raw. He's too this. But, you know, these are the numbers that Osimhen usually gets. These are the numbers that Osimhen got this past season. So, you know, is he really that good? Jordan Hill says the potential is there for him. So just people overreacting. Also, who are you getting? The market isn't striker heavy right now. And John P says, my unpopular opinion is if we cannot find the right striker, we should wait and invest in midfield. And personally, I think we need to be investing in the attack and midfield. I don't think it should be an either or. That's kind of like how I've always felt. I don't feel like we should have to choose, but it always does feel like we have to choose. Like, we're either going to get one or the other. We know we're going to get a defender no matter what. Like, that never gets overlooked, is defense. But that midfield or attack always seems to be like, okay, well, we're going to get midfield. We're not going to get an attacker. We have to get an attacker this summer. Like, we just have to, like, even if it ends up being a wide player, like, we have to upgrade these attackers. Like, I'm so sorry. There's not enough. Like, there's not enough of that inevitability, that clinical finishing. Like, we don't have enough of that. And so, yeah, I do feel like we need more than what we have. And going through another season with what we have is just going to set us up for the same type of end result. Let's see how many people are in here. I can't see it from here, but there are 80 of you guys in here right now, which is really cool. Thank you guys so much for joining. I have so much like dog hair like all over me. I'm just like, what the heck? He has just been, now he's sleep. I cannot. Let's see. Troy says Edu had a barbecue yesterday, so he's cooking something up, hopefully. And let's see, last comment on this one. Nostradamus says if we are spending big on a striker, it's Isak. 34 game season in Bundesliga, by the way. 34 game season in Bundesliga, by the way. So yeah, 34 games. He started 17 of those. So again, point really does stand. Like, he didn't start every single game. He came off of the bench and did pretty good. If we had a player that, you know, could have came off of the bench against Aston Villa and scored a goal, came off of the bench against West Ham and scored a goal, came off of the bench against maybe Man City and scored a goal, you know, we would have been a lot better. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. All right, so let's see. I do want to talk about another striker, another option for the striker position, and that is Artem Dovbyk. After this news came out this morning, I know a lot of people were like interested in doing like a Dovbyk watch this morning when the Ukraine played against Romania. Not sure it was a successful watch. I think he was really good for Girona this season. In fact, he's the La Liga top goal scorer. Dovbyk is. Atletico Madrid have been said to be kind of like leading the race this whole time. And so now these links to Chelsea and Arsenal and Man United are coming up, which sometimes makes me think that like, okay, they're negotiating. So try to pretend like other teams are really interested to try to get the price up. But I think, you know, with players like this, it just depends on like what the fee would be. And I haven't really seen anything about a fee for Dovbyk, but he looks good. Is he somebody that I would spend like more than 50 million on or 60? Probably not. He has 15 goals and 7 assists this season in 24 matches. So he does score a lot of goals. He was really good for Girona. He's obviously going to get some sort of big move. Should it be to the Premier League? Should it be to Arsenal? I don't know. Does he have those physical capabilities that we've been talking about, which is the main reason why I really like Sesko, is that you really just cannot buy. You can't really buy height or pace or any of those types of things. Like you either have it or you don't. The ball striking as well. But he's like 6 foot, maybe 6'1", so he's not that tall. But that's not like the end of the world. Let's see. He's just a striker, and I'm looking at his overall numbers, which is fine. Like we don't really need another false nine, but like loads of touches in the attacking penalty area, most similar to players like Erling Haaland and Ollie Watkins, and just scores loads of goals, which is fine. I don't know. I just don't get the feeling that he's coming to the Premier League, and I don't get the feeling that this is like something that we're actively pursuing that hard. He's probably an option and somebody that we ask for information on because we're looking, but I don't know. He just is somebody that like, you see somebody and they're good and you're like, oh, they're good, but they're good over there. That's the feeling that I get from him. He's good, but good over yonder, like not for us. But what are your feelings on Dovbyk, guys? Like, is he somebody that you guys would take? Not a lot of people have really spoken about Dovbyk. Like he's definitely been somebody that's been, like when we talked about Gyökeres, we spoke about Osimhen, we've spoken about Tony and Isak, but this Dovbyk thing has come kind of like out of nowhere. And now I'm seeing like big YouTubers talking about now we have to sign him. And I'm like, do we? Or are we just kind of like get grappling onto like whatever? Let's see. I'm just trying to look and see if there's like anything on him that makes like anything about like the fee, because I haven't seen any fee. Let's see. I don't see anything about a fee, guys. Like Girona signed him for 7 million euros. That's a steal. That's really good scouting. But again, we know who Girona's like daddy is. Like we know it's not like they're just like this plucky like Brighton, their city group. So yeah, but like there's been a lot of like the tacticos online have spoken a lot about him. But I still don't see like a fee like that anybody would be paying. So yeah, nothing on a fee. So yeah, but I wouldn't pay more than like 50, 60 million for this guy, to be honest. Like he's definitely not somebody I'd pay that much for. Let's see. John P says, where is the screen? Where is it? Okay. A striker at our level has to grab you straight away. It's a feeling I got when I watched Isak or Gyökeres. You know what? It's like, it's not like a growing feeling. I get what you're saying. Like, how when, I don't know, you guys probably don't watch Love Island. I shouldn't be saying like I watch Love Island, but they're like, oh, I'm a slow burn. Yeah, it's never really a slow burn, is it? Like, it's really obvious when a player could be a great player for Arsenal, I think, in terms of like attackers. To me, it's not really like you just see them and but the weird thing is like under Mikel, we haven't really gone for a big attacking signing. Like even Jesus was marketed to us as like a great defensive forward, so it's going to be interesting to see how this works out for us. But I do feel like, yeah, when we watch Isak play, you can see instantly how he would upgrade and make us better. Even like watching Gyökeres, you can see that. I can even see Sesko. With Dovbyk, it's a little bit more difficult to see, if I'm honest. So yeah, it's interesting. Jordan Hill says Girona hasn't been spending money like that, even though they're owned by a city. It's not about how much they spend. It's the fact that it's not like it's this plucky upstart that have gotten like just came out of nowhere. And it's Citigroup. They already have the infrastructure available to them to scout at a high level, where other teams have built that over time that have less resources to do so. Scouts cost money. All the data that costs money, like having the right people in the right places costs money. So like, yeah, it does matter. Like it does matter. Sorry. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, it does matter. Like, it's not all about how much money you're spending. It's about like the infrastructure around it is Citigroup. So it's really not the same as like what Brighton has done and what they've built. It's different. And why would we back Citigroup anyway? Like, we're Arsenal fans. Samuel says, is Xavi Simons loan moves to Arsenal true? We'll talk about that in a second. Nostradamus says Luis Openda is our man, 20 goals scored each season. Fast, both-footed, powerful as an ox. I don't like him. Like every time I watch him, I cannot see him at Arsenal. I think we need a taller, stronger physical presence, aerial duels, like that kind. Like I really don't want like another 5'9" striker. But yeah, I mean, even like we're talking about this and like I'm seeing like the, Envy hit comment up here saying like the striker like market is so painful. The whole industry needs help like with the strikers. And I kind of agree with that. I think we're at a point now where we're looking at Dovbyk, like, is he good enough? Osimhen, Tony, it's not really feeling like if we were getting Isak, I think it would make a lot more sense because he ticks all the boxes. He's Premier League proven. He's great, but we missed that boat. And so do we just buy somebody just for the sake of buying somebody, or do we go more left wing or buy a different type of attacker? That's personally what I feel like Arsenal need to do. If you're not going to get a striker and you're not going to rush that's fine, but that money needs to be shifted onto a top quality winger or attacker or somebody. I don't care what they are, even if they're not like the like perfect fit as a winger, they need to add something like goals, creativity, something special. Like basically we need stardust in the front line or in the attack. Like, and however you get it is however you get it. I don't think, we need to overthink it that much. And that's why somebody like, Xavi Simons is really interesting, because as much as he doesn't really fit the like mold of a winger, you can see how he would fit into the team. You can see how he would fit at left wing, playing more of like that creative forward role. And it wouldn't be like totally out of like, it wouldn't be like totally like disrupting that side at all. In fact, having somebody that's a little bit more of like a creator that can kind of jump into those midfield positions might help us out, because like Martinelli really struggles without a left center mid that gives him all of that. And so having somebody that's more of a creative forward might actually help. You can also see him popping into Odegaard's role. You can see him popping into that position next to Odegaard and playing with him. You can see how Xavi Simons would work with this team. You could see him on the right, so if you're going to go away from what we originally felt like we were going to get, like a striker, and move on to just a different type of attacker, get someone that's special. Get someone who is like, their talent is so undeniable, you find a way to fit them into the team. That's how I think Arsenal should look at it. Now, Xavi Simons is an interesting one because we've been linked with him before. And I do think we made a mistake not getting him maybe last summer, because that was the opportunity to bring him in and make him love being at Arsenal so much on loan that this summer he's forcing the move, or we could have him on loan again and then kind of build up kind of like what we have for Odegaard, where we bought him the next summer. But now we've allowed him to be in the Bundesliga. And now that he's been in the Bundesliga, he likes being there. But Arsenal have, contacted PSG to, see what's up with Xavi Simons. And they don't want to sell, but they're willing to let him go on a loan. This is a type of loan that I feel like we should be doing. I think we should be, selling Emile Smith-Rowe and replacing him with Xavi Simons, somebody that can play in multiple positions, that, is not going to stop us from getting another midfielder. But, if we don't get a winger, it's fine, because you've gotten Xavi Simons, it's fine. Like, that is the type of player that you find a way to fit into your team. He's very talented. He's very good on the eye. He absolutely destroyed us in the Europa League 2 seasons ago. I would love to see Arsenal do something like this, because once you get to the summer after, if he's loaned with us and he loves it, we can try to negotiate something with PSG. If you let him have another season in the Bundesliga, I don't think we're going to have a chance to get him. I think you have to get him in with us to a point where he's like desperate to be at Arsenal. Kind of like with Odegaard, like it was the perfect loan. It was the perfect loan. So yeah, I'm thinking get this done, or try to get it done. Like, get in his ear, say, yeah, you might want to go to RB Leipzig, or stay at Leipzig. This was great for you, but you should come to the Prem. You'll be playing in Champions League. You'll be playing with Odegaard and Saka and some really, really good players, and we can look to maybe, bringing you in permanently the year after, because there's something feels like he doesn't really want to go back to PSG, and that can work to our favor. Having him for a year on loan and then buying him for whatever big ass fee that they're going to ask for is totally fine with me, because this is the type of player that we are going to need. We need like the 6/8, but this player also needs to come in either this summer or the next summer as well, because you're going to get rid of Emile Smith-Rowe. What's his name? Fabio Vieira may not make it. So, you're going to have to bring in another creative player, and there's no really better out there than Xavi Simons right now. Like, this is something that I feel like we should be doing, and it won't kill anything that we're trying to do this summer. It won't, make it so that we can't get anybody else. But this is like something that we should have done already, and we didn't do it. We didn't get Kudus. We didn't get Xavi Simons. We need to bring in this type of player like sooner rather than later. Like, stop waiting. I would do it. I would do it 110%. Caesar, I actually have your comment saved to answer at the end. So make sure you stick around for that, but I already have it saved, so you don't have to send it again. I just forgot to tell you. Boy says, Xavi Simons has been an obvious talent since 16. Scouts are well overpaid. Let's see. Saida says, I wished we had a technical director like Edwards. I feel like we always are going for the obvious signings instead of trying to be creative. It's best to go for a wide forward because the market is poor. I mean, when's the last time we've done like a really, like, beyond Timber, who's not really like unknown? Like, we just didn't know that he was on the market, but he's not really unknown. We do kind of do a lot of like obvious Premier League signings. I don't think we have the finesse. I don't think Edu has the finesse. I think it's like go really obvious. They want to make sure that, I don't think they trust their scouting enough to go with something that's a little bit more obscure, because they're too afraid it's not going to work. And the players that they have brought in that have been a little bit more obscure, it hasn't worked as well. So, but is that the player? Is it the scouting? Like, what is it? Because you should be able to go to the Portuguese league and bring in a creative midfielder. And it should, you should be able to bring in one that works for your system and stuff, but we haven't been able to do it. Kivior, a little bit of a weird fit too. Like, we brought him in, a center back who looked great for Poland, but looks like a scared puppy for us. Like, is our scouting just not good enough, and then we have to go more obvious? Or should we try to get a sporting director, or our sporting director needs to be better at identifying what players are actually going to adapt to the way that we want to play? But I agree with you. We don't do a lot of clever kind of things. Like, it's very obvious, everything that we do. Like, they want Pedro Neto, they want Isak, they want Bruno Guimaraes, they want players that are like obvious no fails. And I get that, but you don't have the money to be like that. We don't have the money. We're always priced out of these moves anyway. So why not get Bruno Guimaraes before he becomes the Bruno Guimaraes at Newcastle? Like, we were linked to Bruno Guimaraes twice before we tried to get him this summer, but we didn't go for him. Why not go? Like, you identified the player. Why didn't you get him? So it's just tough. Like, I do think that we're pretty, like, everything that we do is, I'll say this. I think Arteta deserves a lot more credit for the coaching that he does, because I think our scouting and our recruitment is probably at a B-. Like, if I had to give it like a grade in terms of like looking for the future, identifying young talents, getting players to, that will seamlessly adapt into the team, value for money, squad building, all those types of things, I would say like we're operating at like a B-. Like, there's a lot of dead wood, a lot of, kind of players that haven't really worked out, that are just like dead weight. The sales aren't really going that well. The bench isn't great after years. We've been talking about it. And so Arteta being able to get so much out of probably like B- recruitment, I think is a testament to his coaching, and not really like, I don't really think that we recruit that well. That's kind of where I'm at with it. I think we're okay, but we could do a lot better. And I wish we do stuff like this, like get in Xavi Simons' ear and be like, we can offer you this, like we see you like this, like whatever they did with Declan Rice, do it with Xavi Simons, like get a player with this level of potential. Like he's going to explode. And once he explodes, you can't get him. We're always priced out. We're never in the right position. We're never in the right place to get this player. So get them now. It just feels so obvious, but like, I don't think we're never really like in the front of the line for this type of stuff. Reggie says, at this stage of the project and given what's out there, we need to lure a youngster with a killer instinct and build around them. We might be able to find a winger like that with more experience easier. We might be able to find a winger like that with more experience easier. I mean, yeah, if we cannot get the ready-made product, go for somebody with elite potential that you can already see, like in a year is going to be an Isak, in a year is going to be whoever, and that was kind of like the Sesko transfer, which made sense because in a year we won't be able to get him. There'll be too many people vying for his signature. He'll be expensive and we won't be able to get in the front of the line for him. Like it happens every single time. We wait too late and then it's just over, So I like that idea, but we tend to not be in the right position to get it done. Let's see. Samuel says, I really like Xavi Simons. We might not get a forward, but we can get goals as collectively. Tani says Arsenal should go for João Pedro, even if it's a season early. Is he the player from Wolves? I mean, we've been linked to him, but, I don't know if we'll move on him or not. MV says a loan is good for Xavi Simons. You have to get a good player who fits the team short term while you buy yourself time to find better players if you decide not to buy after the loan. And I don't, what the thing is like Xavi Simons is not even like a placeholder loan. Like the way you're describing it is like he's like a stopgap. He's not a stop. Like he comes to Arsenal and I guarantee he bangs. Like it's just not even like a question. Like he's such an obvious talent. Somebody that, I mean, we played against and he destroyed us. Like if he can find those little pockets, like he's a shoot first, ask questions later. He's so technically gifted. He can go beyond his marker. He can pass his way out of a situation. He's just a footballer. Like he's elegant. Goal. Oh no. Lukaku. Oh no. The Lukaku face is so like, how many times have we seen we've seen it so many times, like he's always missing. But yeah, Xavi Simons is not even like a stopgap. It would just be like Mafia Boss is saying, it's a clever loan. I would be more happy if the option of buying is inserted in the clause. Yeah, I think that it's just such an obvious thing to do. I just don't know if we'll do it. It's just so obvious. Sule to West Ham is Kudus all over again. I've been hearing a lot about the Sule guy, and yeah, West Ham are interested in him. And this is why I'm saying that I think that they're prepping for a Jared Bowen sale, and I would not be surprised if we were in the mix for that. Now, it's another one of those like quintessential, very much so Edu and Arteta coded, like buy somebody who's Premier League proven. That's going to be like a very inflated price because they know it's going to work, and they don't trust their talent ID and scouting enough to go for a more obscure choice. But yeah, we're never going to do the Sules. Like we're always going to wait for them to become really expensive and almost unobtainable before we show like real interest. Let's see. The Arsenal perspective says we aren't that great with the clearly talented Brazilians who are most likely to bang in the EPL. Edu is to blame. B-, you're generous. It's a solid C for me, a pass, but nothing to write home about. I mean, I know some people be like, well, how could you say it's anything other than an A+ or an A? Like we're top of the league and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, are we, we're getting in second and, we're in Champions League. And I'm like, yeah, well, first of all, I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm just saying like from where we were, just buying better players with a good coach was always going to improve us. And I think Arteta's coaching is more of a reason why we're so good rather than, our recruitment. I don't think our recruitment is that good. I really don't. You see some of the players that other teams across the Premier League are able to get. You see how, seamlessly people adapt into other teams like, system. I just don't think that we always overpay. We always overpay. We're like desperate to give other Premier League teams the highest possible number. We can never find that same profile for cheaper somewhere else with more upside. We never buy ahead of time before a player becomes fully what they're going to be. Like we have a lot of gaps. And I think the biggest testament to our recruitment not being that good is beyond the starting 11, we don't feel confident in what we have. And there's been multiple years to figure this out. There's players that we bought that we can't sell still. These are not Mustafis and Socrateses. These are like Sambis and Nunos and players like that. So yeah, it's not so much just about like what we do in the Premier League. I think we have huge gaps in our recruitment policy. So we can do much better. Let's see. Keenan says, if we don't start unearthing Julian Alvarez type buys, we are never going to challenge City. I agree with this. Like the player before it becomes like super obvious to buy them, like buying Julian Alvarez now would be like so dumb, because as much as it's like, oh, he's proven and we know he's good. Why are we not looking like they found him at like River Plate? And we're able to buy him for like what he costs like 17 million or something like that. We don't really do those. We just really don't. Like I agree. I really think there's a big gap in like our ability to like do smart loans that can lead to permanence like we did with Odegaard. Like I would like to see more of those. I would like to see more timber type deals. But the Kai Havertz type deals, the obvious Declan Rice deals, those ones are great. But, sometimes you have to weave those in with, some smarter, clever buys. And we don't really have those. And if we do those, they don't work out. And so it still doesn't, it's even worse that when you do them, they don't work out. Ivy says, I hope our South American scouts can bring some quality to this team. We have still yet to even attempt to buy one of these Brazilian wonder kids. I don't know I think Edu's like blackballed or something. Sorry. We just never, and it's not like the biggest priority, but it would be nice if we could get one. Troy says Arsenal won't be developing other teams' player who they cannot buy in the future. And Keenan says, I would buy Simons, especially if he puts up some nice GA for Netherlands. He is the player that is worth paying an extra 10, 15 million above asking to rip him out of PSG's hands. I agree. Like, I just think the loan at the very minimum, here's the thing, if you can't get the striker that you want and you can't get the midfielder that you want because you're priced out of a deal for Bruno Guimaraes and you're priced out of a deal for Isak, then at least just get good players. Like talent will always get you over the line, even if you have to kind of like shoehorn them in, or it's not the perfect situation that you want to be in. Like idealistically, Arsenal probably want to buy Pedro Neto. You can't get Pedro Neto because Pedro Neto is a crock. So maybe the next best thing is to just get the most talented player to play in that position. And that's probably Xavi Simons. Is he a perfect fit? Is he as fast? No. Is he as direct? No. But his talent level is so high that it's worth it not being perfect. That's what I would like to see Arsenal do. Just go get talent. Like talent will always get you over the line. Like even like if you think about as much as people probably won't like this example, Chelsea are always going to like improve to a certain amount because they just buy really good players. Like some of the players that they bought are not good, but they buy so much talent that they could figure out a way to like, they'll score enough goals and get like, the way that they went up the table was not because they were being coached well, it was because they just had talent. They had Cole Palmer. Like they just had talent, and I just feel like don't overthink it. If you can't get Isak, you can't get Bruno Guimaraes, just get talent and just let it go, just let it cook, Otani says Arsenal went to Porto in 2022 and recruited Vieira instead of Vitinha. How? Well, I would say the interesting thing about this comment that keeps coming up is, one, it's a popular comment because it's all based on hindsight. But when we first got Vieira, nobody even knew who Vieira was, and they definitely didn't know who Vitinha was. Vitinha plays at PSG, a club that's under no pressure in their league, and he could just develop and adapt to PSG and their style and all that without any pressure. And nobody was really watching him when he was actually adapting and wasn't that great. There were games where Vitinha, he didn't just step straight in and was amazing. Like, he had time to cook under no pressure because nobody was watching and nobody cared. Then a year later, he's playing really well, and everybody's like, how did we go and get Vieira instead of Vitinha when none of you guys even knew about any of those players when we got him? I think what would be the funniest thing, and what for my own personal agenda, would be if Vieira left, went to another team and banged. Like, because it's so obvious he's going to do it. And then people will be, why couldn't we get him to work? Like, Vieira's not what people think he is. Like, if you ever watched him play outside of Arsenal for Porto in Champions League or in Europa League, you know, him and Vitinha were both playing really well, but Vieira was actually the more coveted of the two in terms of like getting assists and scoring goals. And he's really talented, but just the way that we play and the way that he's been integrated in his injuries, like, it's really not like an easy fit. And everybody, it's no surprise that everybody that's come in on the fringes of the starting 11 that's, you know, was rated when they got here and is no longer rated now, is ready to go. Like, there's rumors of like both Fabio Vieira and Kivior wanting to go because they know that they're talented. They're like 23 years old, and there's no reason for them to just rot on our bench because they don't get opportunities unless like somebody's on their deathbed. So I disagree with this whole, we went to Porto and got Vieira instead of Vitinha, because that's just like it's a cute thing to say because it makes sense now, but there was like a whole year where nobody was watching Vitinha and nobody even knew he existed. And now that he's playing well, it's like, oh, I'm going to use it as a stick to beat Vieira. They're not in similar situations at all. Arteta never plays Vieira. Like, he doesn't play him for a consistent amount of games. If he's not perfect when he plays, he doesn't get to play the next game. Vitinha gets to play rain or shine. Rain or shine, he's playing, whether he plays well or not. That's really useful to a player that needs adaptation. We cannot have players that need to adapt from other leagues because they just don't get consistent game time. And so until we get that, until they can give that, Arteta and Edu need to stick with their Premier League proven formula, because that's mostly why players from other leagues don't work for us. Like, we had Sambi, Kivior, and Vieira. They all have had very similar experiences. Is it all three players are shit? Or do we just not know how to integrate players that are from outside of other leagues that need adaptation that don't start? Like come on. So I will never, like, until I see somebody from another league come in that doesn't start and not flop, I'm going to always feel like I need to see them play more consistently. Because I'm sorry, like, Vieira is like, he is such an obvious go to another team and bang. It's so obvious. Like, I don't know how you guys don't see it. Philip says, we barely ever buy ready-made and have it for decades. Rice is the exception, not the rule at all. I mean, I feel like recently we always buy like kind of ready-made. I mean, when I say like they're not projects at all, like there's a difference between being like an experienced player and being ready to play, if that makes sense. Like, we do buy a lot of players that are ready to play. We don't buy prospects. We don't buy like elite talent that needs development. No, we don't. But like Gabriel, when we bought him, wasn't like an experienced player, but he was definitely ready to play. So we do buy in that in between where it's not like they're not prospects. Like, they have enough football to not be prospects. So like Odegaard is not a prospect, and we bought him. We bought Kai Havertz, not a prospect. Declan Rice, not a prospect. Like Ben White, not a prospect. Jorginho, not a prospect. Trossard, not a prospect. Like, most of the players that we buy are pretty much like ready to go, pretty much ready to play. Yeah, so we do. We don't buy players that have like elite upside that need development. And if we do, we don't, because I don't think Vieira and Kivior really fit into that category, but players that need a little bit more of like a hand held to get to where they need to go, they kind of just get left in the dust. Like, yeah. Let's see. Saturdays equals youth says Vieira seems more like a La Liga player than a Premier League player. Let's see. Yo-Yo says Fabio was primarily playing off the bench at Porto. He was always meant to be developed. I had massive expectations for him in ESR last summer, but neither kicked on. I mean, again, like, because I actually like the player, I've actually done a lot. I feel like a lot of research on like what actually happened with Vieira. When Luis Diaz went to Liverpool, that is when Vieira got into the first team for Porto. That's how much time it was between when he got into the first team for Porto and when we bought him. It was all of 6 months. All of 6 months. So imagine Noweri coming into the team in the summer or in January of whatever year, and then we sell him 6 months later. That's basically the amount of time. And he was still coming off of the bench and being integrated in. He played very little first team football before we bought him. And so he was still kind of like raw, and all he did was just run on the bench. He would show signs and then fall away again and be inconsistent. But players that need development and aren't finished articles tend to be inconsistent. And if you don't give them consistent game time, what are you going to do? So I think his injuries also hampered him. But again, like, for my own personal agenda, just because like it's so obvious that he's really talented and will bang somewhere else, I kind of want that to happen so we can see it and everybody can be like, oh my God. But yeah, maybe we won't see it. Maybe he'll stay another year. But yeah, let's see. Otani says Vieira is a low-touch midfielder. His game's crossing diagonals, long passing. I don't agree that he's a low-touch midfielder. I just feel like you have to first of all, we avoid passing through the lines most of the time. Like, we're very up the wings. Pocket players, number 10s, don't like to drift out wide. They like to be in the center, and you have to be able to you have to almost be willing to take the risk. I feel like Vieira is the type of player that needs to be in the pockets, and we don't play in the pockets. We do a lot of building around the sides on the right-hand side between Ben White and Odegaard and Saka, and then try to get it to the left-hand side. We don't do very much playing through the middle. Like, we don't. It's just not how we play. I don't know. I think Arteta avoids the middle because if we lose the ball in the middle, then we're more susceptible on the counterattack. So from my perspective, if you don't play with number 10s, then you shouldn't buy number 10s. That's kind of like my rule of thought. It's the same thing of like Southgate. All the number 10s that play for England suffer. Maddison, Cole Palmer, Foden, because he doesn't play through the lines with creativity, with movement, with players close to each other. It's very stiff. It's very risk adverse. Arteta does very similar things. So if you don't play with number 10s, Emil will suffer, Fabio Vieira will suffer. These are not players that you should have in your team if you don't want players in between the lines, receiving in the pockets and playing near each other and playing boom, 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 boom. If you don't want that, then you shouldn't have those types of players. That's how I kind of feel, So yeah. But yeah, I feel as though I would like to see Arsenal and Edu and Mikel to do just a little bit more of like those clever signings. Xavi Simons would be a great player to do for like a loan. It wouldn't stop us from doing anything else. Do I think anything's going to happen with Osimhen? No, I don't. And I'm not sure about this Dovbyk either. I'm not sure about anything because it doesn't feel like there's anything like clear because Arsenal are keeping it very like hush hush. So yeah. Somebody had sent in a question. I want to answer it. Let me see. I saved it as a banner. So let's see. Where's the question? Uh-oh. Wait, let me just look for it real quick. Oh, here it is. Caesar says, if Odegaard, Saliba, and Rice doesn't exist, which players would you buy to replace them? Let's see. If Saliba doesn't exist, I'd buy Diamande. If Rice doesn't exist, I'd buy... If Rice doesn't exist, I'll buy Fofana. And if Odegaard doesn't exist, I jump off a cliff. Hope that answers the question. I don't want to know a world without Odegaard, but I guess I don't know. It's a hard question. Odegaard, I can't think of anybody, but for Saliba, Diamande, and for Rice, maybe Fofana. Yeah. MV says, I think you hit it on the spot. The midfield needs to be smart signing, not a big signing. Yeah, smart signings. I'm all for smart signings. They don't have to be expensive, whatever. They really don't. I mean, it just has to be smart, it's okay. Like other teams do them all the time. And we're always like, why didn't we do that? But we like to do very obvious, very expensive signings. And I don't really get why. But yeah, I also we didn't really get a chance to talk about it, but I just want to make sure that you guys remember that like Crystal Palace have begun talks with Arsenal for Reece Nelson. That was something that, we're not going to get like a chance to like really like go through, but I just want to make sure that for those of you guys who just joined, you got that little tidbit. And Arsenal and Barcelona are finalizing the terms of the deal for Kira Walsh, a fantastic deep line playmaker, DM that plays for the Lionesses. She's one of my favorite like women's players. I love her to death, and she's coming to Arsenal, and it's outrageous. Like I'm so happy about it. Wish Jurian Timber a happy 23rd birthday because it's his 23rd birthday, and we're excited to see how he plays this upcoming season, where he plays and all that kind of stuff. So super excited about that. Also, do not forget to send in your video messages. They don't have to just be for the show. They will all like kind of like be collected for me to just like kind of play at the end of shows. So you guys can just use your phone and send in the video messages with the QR code, or just use the link in the description to sending your video messages. They can be about anything. Ask a question, give me a hot take, anything. And you guys can do that. It's $2.99. And at the end of each show, we'll take some time to get through them for the video messages. And the watch along for Thursday will start at 4:45 p.m. UK time for England versus Denmark, which watching that first England game was like, damn, do I even want to do any more watch alongs for England? Because my gosh, they're boring. They're boring, but we will be there because Saka was cooking. He was absolutely cooking. He sent, what's his name, off the pitch, Kostic, and I just thought it was amazing. So, and Rice was also really good. So we were good. You were bad, not us. So yeah, but let's see. I think we have maybe a video message here. Let's see. I see something in the chat here. Oh, it's a super chat from Mark. Thank you so much, Mark. Mark says, Odegaard or Bergkamp? I mean, it has to be Bergkamp. Let's be serious. Honestly, anybody from like this era of Arsenal, as good as they are, they're gonna have to do a lot more to usurp the likes of like Bergkamp or Henry or Vieira or any of these players. Like I feel like time will not always be like very kind to these really good players that we knew of from the past, and what we see in the present always feels like it's the best, but there's just nothing like Bergkamp. And I think they're two completely different players, if I'm honest. Like Bergkamp was definitely more of like a number 10, where Odegaard kind of started off as a number 10, and like now he's more of like a complete midfielder. So yeah, it's a little unfair to like compare the two, but as much as I love Odegaard, Bergkamp is clear. He is so clear, and he's clear of any number 10 that's played for Arsenal since he's left. Like Ozil cannot speak to him. Jack cannot speak to him. Like it's Bergkamp. Like it just is. And also like Bergkamp trophies, those types of things, like those always come into play. So I'll always go the old school until this group actually like wins some things, but knowing that they will, like I'm sure Odegaard and Saka and these guys will go down as legends. Like they'll go down as legends because they're just that good. So yeah. Foxy, it's not disrespectful to ask the question. It's not disrespectful to ask the question. I feel like it's valid to ask these questions. But I feel like some of these players that have come in this group are a lot closer to the players of old than some of the other ones we used to compare. Like there were comparisons between like Ozil and Bergkamp and like whatever. As much as Ozil was like a fantastic player overall for Arsenal, he was nowhere near as impactful as Bergkamp was for Arsenal. Like, let's be serious. So yeah, like I love Odegaard, but like no, like let's be serious. Keenan says Bergkamp will be trash in this current Premier League era, but let's be serious for like 5 seconds. Comparing eras is probably one of the most disingenuous things to do, because if we like, I made the comparison the other day that Henry was 100% correct when he said that Arsenal need to kind of get over this Manchester City thing and this idea that we'll start winning once Manchester City leaves. We should try to beat this current Man City team because they're the best. And once you beat them, you kind of feel like you can beat anybody. And if Henry and the Invincibles had waited to try to beat, Sir Alex Ferguson's Manchester United when he left, they wouldn't have won anything, because they were the Manchester City of that era. And they were nowhere near as good. And I was like, none of that matters, because once you start doing that, then we have to start talking about other GOATs of the game, the Ronaldos, the Ronaldinhos, the Kakas, these guys, and we'll start invalidating all of their what they achieved, because football has changed. Football has changed. I don't know if it's gotten better or worse, but it's different now. So, I mean, there's people that constantly complain about wanting, the new game to go back to the old game. So I think it's disingenuous to compare eras. I don't really care if Bergkamp wouldn't have been good in this Premier League, because he was good in the Premier League that he was in, because I'm not about to start invalidating the old Premier League, because then people will start to invalidate what we achieved. And newsflash, we achieved a lot of the things that we talk about now in that Premier League. So I'm not going to start invalidating it. Like, let's be serious. I'm very big on like keeping eras where they are, because then we have to start nitpicking all the way back. We're going to start talking about Maradona. We're going to start pretending like Maradona wasn't that guy. Like, come on. But Bergkamp was, in that time, he was like elite. So, and he's what the league required at that time. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. People are watching Onana and not loving what they're seeing. I'm not surprised. I mean, first of all, Belgium are not playing that well, but let's be serious. Belgium are never impressive in these tournaments. We always think that they're going to do good, but I mean, they haven't. I've been peeking, and looking, and I'm like, yeah, it's not looking good. They're down 1-0. Like, as bad as England were, they still won their game without that much stress. Belgium being down a goal, not saying anything bad about Slovakia, but it just shows that. It also shows Kevin De Bruyne ain't that guy. No, I'm just joking, but yeah. So yeah. MV says, I think chats should rather respect your legends by focusing on trying to do what they did, like winning before giving them flowers when they're this close and nowhere near retiring age. So yeah, not saying Bergkamp is better to, invalidate Odegaard or this team. I just feel like it's not really right to compare eras. So yeah, love the old team. And yeah, that's kind of where we're at. So let's see. There's 115 of you guys watching, which is amazing. Make sure you guys are liking and subscribing. I appreciate you guys checking in, even though the games are on. It's a little bit more difficult because I wake up a little bit later. And so unless I start way earlier, which I might have to, because the games are on, I might have to go back to like the 3 a.m. stream or the 4 a.m. stream to like get these out before the actual Euros start. But I do appreciate you guys like checking in and being a part of the conversation, despite, Belgium playing. And I did want to get the show done before France and Austria play. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. And yeah, we will continue on tomorrow, probably at an earlier time, just to make sure we don't clash with the games. And then, like I said, watch along on Thursday, and we'll just continue on with the schedule from there. And yeah, we'll try to get diluted on for the Thursday show if I can track him down, because he's so hard to get in contact with, I'm telling you. But thank you guys so much for checking in. Make sure you guys like the video and subscribe to the channel. And also, actually, before we get out of here, don't go just yet. Don't go just yet. I want you guys to also give me what do you think our first game of the season is going to be? The schedule actually comes out tomorrow. I don't know if you guys know that, but the schedule comes out tomorrow. And I want to know, before you guys go, or you guys can do it in the comment section after, what do you think our first game is going to be? What is your guess? I wonder if any of you guys will get it right, because we always have a hard start to the season, I feel, but like last season was a little bit easier, but it ended up being a little bit harder than it should have been. I'm going, first game of the season is going to be, I'm going to go, who came up? I'm going to go Leicester at home. That's what I'm going to go. Leicester at home. Give me your guys' guesses for this, because I was thinking, I was like, it has to be, I think, because you know what they like? You know, it's like, what is going to give the most, like, aha, Arsenal suck, you know, or, you know, what's going, you know, something like I feel like they're always trying to get that Brentford back, you know, that Brentford first game of the season. They loved that. And they gave us Nottingham Forest last season. They didn't get us, but I feel like they're going to give us either like a team that came up, or some sort of narrative team. So Manchester United or Villa or something. So yeah, what is our first? It has to be, I think it's going to be a promoted team. I think it's going to be a promoted team. I think it'll be like Leicester, just to get that old thing back, you know, because Leicester replaced us somehow, even though they're coming up. So, yeah, maybe Villa is a good choice, like a good prediction. Boy says Villa. If we can't beat Villa, then they will print it that we won't win the league. Yes. Yeah, you have to think about, like, the Premier League is always thinking about being an ass. Like, that's always what it is. Let's see. KK says Villa, Premier League will try to screw us every time. Ipswich away. I'm seeing Fulham at home. Fulham at home. So Fulham at home, Villa away, or I'm going Leicester at home. So yeah, that's what I'm going for. But for those of you guys who tune in later or just want to do it after the show, put it in the comments after what you think our first game of the season is going to be. I'm going Leicester at home. And make sure you guys also, Southampton. Yes, Southampton is a good one too. So yeah, make sure on your way out, you guys give me your prediction, or also you can do it in the comments after. Like and subscribe on your way out.